I'm here with Rusty Crowe, and first off, Rusty, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Reid, it's great to be with you. Yeah, I was actually born in Johnson City, and my dad was an old bomber pilot in World War II, and so after the war, we went with the Corps of Engineers, and we moved uh, around the world. Actually, he was building runways for our nation, and so I was very lucky as a kid to move around the world like that. I I came back to the states and went to Washington College Academy, which is our state's oldest school. My mother went there, and her mother went there, and so that was quite an experience years ago for me. And then we moved to Johnson City, and I went to university school, graduated there, and then went to ETSU. In the middle of my college career, it was the Vietnam War era. I decided to volunteer, and volunteering to go to Southeast Asia. And what I did is I got really lucky. I think I ended up being placed in what's called the Army Security Agency. ASA. It's kind of like our national security. It's kind of like the NSA at the civilian level. And my job was to intercept coded messages from the enemy, try to protect our troops from being ambushed and those sorts of things. And I could also through the technology that we used, I could locate down pilots, and we could try to get them out, things like that. So I did that from 1967. Gosh, I guess through 71 or so, and they had a top secret clearance, and literally had a price on my head, Reed, because we were involved in espionage, so to speak, and they loved to capture us, and if they could, and see what we were up to. But came home and finished college. Was on the track team at ETSU with Coach Walker. You remember when we had the Irish Brigade? I threw the javelin and the discus and those sorts of things. Came home and graduated from college. Went to Atlanta and did some field work with the Atlanta Police Department. My degree was BS degree was in criminal justice, and I worked with the Atlanta Police Department. Then went with the FBI for about 5 years while I went to school at night and got my law degree in Atlanta, and then came home and worked at East Tennessee State University for many years, and ran for office, won a Senate seat, and when Governor Sunquist decided to push for an income tax, I said no, and as a result of killing the income tax, it literally came down to me. He came to me and said, if you don't vote for this, it's going to die. And I said, Don, it's not constitutional. We tax privileges, not rights, and I just can't do what's not right. And so I lost my job at the university when I killed the income tax, and then I went into healthcare. If you remember, Congressman David Davis had a healthcare company, and I went to South Carolina College of Medicine. The Richlands Hospital System had a program there, and I learned wound care and hyperbaric medicine, which is what I do today. Today, I contract with I worked with David Davis's company. Then I worked with Mountain States Health Alliance, and then today I contract with the hospital systems up in the Tri-Cities to help develop wound care and hyperbaric medicine. And so that's where I am today. And I've been in the Senate, ever since 1990, and and have decided. Really thought Congressman Reid would run again. I had urged him to run again. We're great friends. We go to church together. And when he decided not to, my phone rang off the hook. People saying, "Rusty, we would like you to try this to run for Congress." And so I'm in the race and excited and working hard. That kind of brings us up to today, I guess.
Well, you kind of alluded to it already, but why have you decided to run for election for U.S. House?
Well, I tell you, and I guess really it goes toward the issue of what's wrong with the country as well. You were asking, what's important for the nation and for Tennessee. Well, what's important? What I see is when I guess the best way to say this is when the Republicans had control of Congress years ago, they didn't do what they promised to do, Reed. They didn't take care of Obamacare. They didn't, they didn't repeal that. They didn't fix immigration. They didn't pass a budget amendment to try to balance our nation's budget. We've got to start, using some common sense up there and doing what needs to be done. And I'm running because it matters who governs. And ever since Ned McWhorter's days, I've worked with people like Ned McWhorter. I've worked with Marsha Blackburn, Mark Green, Ron Ramsey, Tim Burchett, that's now Congressman from Knoxville, Diane Black. We all sat on the floor together for years, and we've got Tennessee on top. Right now, Tennessee's number one in fiscal management. Gosh, we're the best business climate, lowest tax as a percentage of income, and one of the very lowest in the nation. We're AAA bond rated. I started the rainy day fund years ago. We've got a great rainy day fund, and obviously we balance our budget every year by law. And I think what most people don't realize is the last 3 years we balanced our budget with no new debt, first time in the history of our state. So, we need to take those values and those principles that we've used to put Tennessee on top up to D.C. And D.C. just needs a darn good dose of Tennessee, and that's why I'm running to get up there to help our president and Marsha and Mark Green and Tim Burchett and the rest of our Tennessee delegation, Kustoff and the others, Fleischman, to help keep this country on track and take those principles that made Tennessee great to D.C. And I think we can do that. We have to start using some common sense, and the president has managed to do some amazing things on his own, Reed. He's brought back peace through strength. We're respected again in the world. He's brought the nation's economy back. Before this COVID situation, the economy was back, and he put the embassy back in Israel. But he's in Jerusalem. He's done things on his own, and he's had to because Congress is so dysfunctional. You just can't get anything done through Congress, and we've got to figure out to find a way to bring some people together, for the sake of our nation. I know, Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill were able to do it. They worked together to pass budgets and make things happen. Even Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, figured out found a way to work together. At any rate, we've got to be strong, and we do have to maintain our principles and values. But I think if we can take those things that have made Tennessee great up to D.C., it'll be a game changer.
What do you think is the biggest issue facing the country right now?
I think that polarization. I mean, it's just, we can't get anything done because of that polarization that exists. And I think the right now it's America versus socialism. I mean, it literally is a form of it's a battle to make sure that our country is maintains that path that our founding fathers intended for us. And it's the greatest nation in the world, and there are those that are trying to change it, to make it more like France or Greece or, some of the countries that are more socialistic in nature. And I think, if we have to follow those principles that our founders set out for us. And I think we just have to find a way to depolarize things in D.C., or we're never going to get anything done. In Nashville, when I first started, we had we had a majority of Democrats in the Senate, and now it's 28 Republicans and 5 Democrats. It's changed so much in Tennessee, but we get along well. I mean, we work together. We can't agree with them on everything. They can't agree with us, but by gosh, we know how to get things done, and we don't worry about the ideology of the issues. We worry about what's good for Tennessee and the people we represent, and that's what we've got to get back to. I think in D.C., we've got to find a way to work together.
Now, narrowing it down, what do you think is the biggest issue facing Tennessee?
Oh gosh, obviously right now we've got to bring our economy back. We've got to work to bring the economy back, and I think the governor's had such a tough time. It's a really tough issue when you try to balance personal freedoms with health care. It's a tough road to hoe, I'll tell you. I think the nation and the state have done a great job in trying to help people through this. But now we've got to find a way to turn that knob up and get everyone back to business and get the economy back and do it in a safe way. We can do it in a safe way if you follow the CDC and OSHA type rules. Business and industry can get back to work and do their thing, and I think we can be fine. And if we follow the rules. We've never seen a situation like this before, Reid. This is what they call a novel virus with no pharmaceutical intervention and mitigation. The only way to deal with it is to slow it down because they don't have a serum and that sort of thing. And so we've had to do the distancing and the hand washing and the non-crowd situation, and even the staying at home, I guess, to try to slow it down. And thank goodness, President Trump invoked that level 4 travel restriction early on to keep the Chinese from coming in droves over here like they were. I think that saved a lot of lives, and I think the governor invoking that emergency status early was a good thing too. Tennessee's in good shape. I think it's flattening. I had the Commissioner of Health before I chair the Health Committee in the Senate Health and Welfare, and yesterday I had Dr. Piercy, our at the federal level she'd be called Secretary of Health, is Commissioner of Health in Tennessee. She was with us, and she said things are flattening out, and it looks like we're going to be okay. We just have to maintain keep following the rules for a while, and we'll see where this goes. So far, there has not been a surge. So I think that's what's important right now in Tennessee. We've got to get back to normal, normalize as much as we can. And let me say this too. I know there have been lots of riots and those kinds of things lately. I'm really proud of our National Guard and our law enforcement in Tennessee. We've been able to weather that storm, and I know this morning in Rogersville, the 278th Armored Cavalry is deploying, and there are probably some men and women from the Greene County in that regiment. I know we've got people from Hawkins, Sullivan, Washington, Carter, and Unicoi, and I would say there may be some from Greene County in there too, but they're leaving this morning, so our prayers are with them. But yeah, we've got to get the economy back and get things back to normal, and that's, I guess, right now that's the plan.
And what are your plans if you are elected?
Well, if I'm elected, I really look forward to trying to bring, as I said, those principles that I've used here in Tennessee that work to D.C. to try to help our delegation up there and the president keep our country on track. In Tennessee, those good old conservative Tennessee principles of lower taxes and less government intrusion, less regulation on business, personal responsibility, faith, and family. And in Tennessee, we're one of the lowest tax states there are. And I'll tell you what's interesting. We've done away with the gift tax, the inheritance tax. We're doing away with the hall tax, which is the investment tax. I killed the income tax. Marcia and I did. You don't have an income tax. Every time you turn around, I think we've taken 30% off the food tax. The more we have repealed these taxes, the more revenue we have had come in. Before this coronavirus hit, Reid, our state was, we had exceeded projections like crazy. Our state was booming with money. Thank goodness we were in really good shape, before this virus hit, and we were able to weather this storm. But if we can, I think my priority is going to be to take those principles that we've used that we know work in Tennessee to DC. I think we can make a big difference up there. Regulations are killing business and industry. What happens in agriculture? Agriculture is one of our big concerns right now. People just aren't staying on the farm. We have 70,000 farms in Tennessee, and Greene County is a big agricultural area. We have 70,000 farms, but I think only 20 or 30% say they're really farming. And the young people aren't staying on our farms. And one of the reasons is the really big boys in agriculture. They are the ones that have the dollars and the lobbyists to create the rules and regulations that surround agriculture. And as a result, our farmers, our local farmers, hands are tied because the rules and regs benefit the big boys. And in many cases, you can't sell your own good, your own products, your crops, you're restricted by the regulations that the big boys draw up. So we've got to work on that. And one of the problems they're having now is the H-2 workers that are coming in legally to work some of our farms. Those restrictions are such that you have to have certain kind of housing, you have to have certain kind of water, certain kind of this, certain kind of that, and it's so invasive to our farmers that they can't afford to bring in workers and work their farms anymore. And obviously these are H-2A workers that are brought in legally, and they come in legally and then they go back. They don't violate the rules. And of course, immigration is something that's important to me too. I mean, illegal means illegal, Reid. And when some work so hard to become American citizens, it's not right for us to let the ones that don't that try to break the rules do that. It's just not right. And so we've got to work on that as well. But I'm very optimistic. I know I'm one that believes that when George Washington was president and general of our troops, he made a covenant with God back then that's still in place. And if you look through the years, we never should have won the Revolutionary War. I mean, the Germans were so advanced in World War II. Every time you turn around, we're winning, and this country is maintained as the freedom of the world. Really, the one country that where liberty and freedom is and capitalism is paramount. And I think it's because we still have that covenant with God that was made those years ago. But I'm optimistic that our country's going to be and survive and be in good shape. But we do have to find a way to somehow work together and end this polarization that we see up at D.C. It's just so important. You got to fight. You got to fight for your principles. You got to be strong. Like President Trump is. But at the same time, he's trying every day to find a way to work with the other side. We've got to find a way to do for the people instead of do for our parties and ideology. When I killed the income tax, it was my Republican Party that won. It was a Republican governor, but it wasn't right to do, and I knew it would hurt me if I killed the income tax. Marcia did too. Marcia had all the people driving around the Capitol, and when the time came to count for the votes, the governor came to me and I said, "I'm sorry, it's not the right thing to do. We're not going to do that." And as a result, we have business and industry coming to Tennessee like crazy because we don't have an income tax. And so, you just have to do what's right and use good common sense, and things always work out. I think the country and the state are going to be in good shape. We'll get things back to normal.
And before we go, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I'm sorry. I hope you could hear me there. I had moved my phone. Reid, I'm proud to be in this race. There's 16 people in it. It's kind of like when Bill Jenkins ran. I think, if you recall back then, there were 10 or 11 people in that race. I'm proud to be in the race, and I'm going to work hard. And I guess I'm kind of like Fred Thompson. I've been around a long time, and people know me. What you see is what you get. They know I'm not going to change. I'm going to be the same Rusty Crowe that I've always been in the Tennessee Senate, and I'm proud to represent the people that we represent, and this district goes from Mountain City all the way down to Sevier County. I'm opening up a headquarters in Sevier County because Sevier is a major boost to our budget with all the dollars they bring in down there. And I know they always feel a little bit left out when someone from Johnson City on the upper end is running. Kind of like in Johnson City, we always say the buck stops in Knoxville, and so I want to take that in consideration and have an office at both ends of the district. But I'm really proud to be running, and I'd be so proud to represent and be a part of our delegation in Washington. And I would ask everyone for their vote and support. I'll make them proud of me, and work really hard. I like Jimmy Quillen got me started years ago. He was a great friend, and I would not have been elected if it weren't for Jimmy Quillen and his friend Ralph Cole up our way. Jimmy taught me a long time ago. He said, love the people you represent and treat them like your family. And of course, Jimmy always said, keep your door open, and I've always done that. I think my office has probably the most constituent service of any Senate office in the state. I actually, years ago, Reid, had the first toll-free line to any Senate office in the history of our state. I opened up I had an 800 number so people could call me and not have to pay for calls. So that's back before cell phones, and so I'm proud of that. But I've always been there for our people, and my door will always be open. And I appreciate the media. I'm one that enjoys and appreciates the media, because without the media, we can't get the word out relative to what we're doing. And I consider us a team. It's a team effort, and I appreciate you calling to ask me to go on today.
Well, I want to thank Rusty Crowe for joining us today.